I want to ask you about Burundi. Following the resolution on Friday, which authorizes up to 228 police, I wanted to know what the Secretariat is thinking in terms of actually deploying and seeking consent. In light of over the weekend, there were protests in Bujumbura, and a number of people, including some invited to the Arusha talks, have issued threats that anyone deployed will be killed. So, what's the Secretariat going to do now?
Well, we're aware of that. At the same time, of course, the Security Council has spoken. They've made clear what their wishes are, and we will follow up on that. Um, and of course, from our standpoint, the next thing to do will be to reach out to potential police contributing countries and see how quickly we can get a police force that will comply with the request
But
made
what
by the
about
Security Council.
Sure. About actually asking, it was said at the stakeout by Ambassador Delattre that consent is absolutely needed. So what's the process for the UN seeking consent? And also, just on these threats, including death threats, is there any, since the UN supports these Arusha talks, does it seem inconsistent to you that people invited and participating in the talks would be publicly issuing death threats to UN police?
Well, regarding that, I'll leave it to the facilitators of the Arusha talks to discuss the Arusha talks. But from our standpoint, what we want to do is make sure that any Security Council mandated force is able to go about its work. And as with every other country, we then deal with the host government to make sure that that will happen.
Sure. I wanted to ask you, in the DRC, there was one very large demonstration in favor of Mr. Tshisekedi, but Mr. Katumbi, the also candidate or desiring to be candidate, was banned from returning to the country by the DRC authorities. The judge that convicted him has said that she was forced to do so and gone into hiding. Given the UN peacekeeping mission there and its role, do they have any thoughts or comments on the banning of a candidate and the judge recanting the conviction?
Uh, well, I think we made our concerns known about the case of Mr. Katumbi earlier, and those remain the same as when we had we had pointed this out. Regarding the demonstrations, the information we have from the mission is that the situation is calm in Kinshasa, and they are aware that the recent demonstrations in the country took place in a relatively peaceful atmosphere.
What about the banning of him returning? He was going to fly back over the weekend on Sunday, and the government said, turn the plane around, basically. Any comment on that?
No, I mean, like I said, we've mentioned our concerns about this, and they remain. Luke, did you have? Okay. Is that it for other questions? And then one more for
Great,
you.
sure. I have two questions. One has to do with the sentencing of Sherry Yan in the John Ash Englap Sen case on Friday. She was sentenced to 20 months in federal prison, $300,000 of forfeiture, and Judge Broderick said the case, which is an ongoing case, has damaged the UN. So I wanted to know, given that the case is about bribery within the UN, and given the judge's statement, what's your comment on the sentencing and the continuing of the case?
Well, we don't have any particular comment on the sentencing. Of course, we've been following this process, and we've been sharing information as relevant. But from our standpoint, what we need to do is get to the bottom of what happened here to make sure that UN officials are not tainted by this, and that ultimately everyone knows that that no officials, whether of member states or otherwise, should be participating in these sorts of activities.
I wanted to ask you again about this now. It's coming up to August 2nd, so I wanted to ask you now, this event by CopSync, which is a for-profit company that sells equipment to the police industry. They've put out a second press release dropping Mr. Sullivan as a speaker, but naming Jack Brewer as a, quote, UN ambassador for peace and sport. It's right in their press release. It's on PR Newswire. The event is taking place tomorrow.
No, it's
on
not.
this floor. I'm at.
No,
the
it's
event
not.
is canceled?
The event's been canceled.
Okay, so what have you learned from?
As far as I'm aware, I checked about the event, and apparently the sponsors themselves canceled the event. For any further details, you need to ask the sponsors.
What was DSS's connection to the event and to the group sponsoring the event?
The event that didn't happen?
No, there have been three that have been held here before. So
Matthew, as I've just pointed out, there's no event. You need to check with the sponsors for anything further. Yes.